Go love your own enemies. Don't be loving mine. My enemies are the theocratic fascists. I don't love them. I want to destroy them.
You're a child made in the image of God. Oh no, you're not. You're a faggot. And you can't join your church and you can't go to heaven. This is disgraceful. It's inhuman.
So somebody by the name of Rusty Burns writes to me, obviously you don't have more important things to do with your time. You seem to have plenty of time to exalt yourself on post after post on YouTube as the know-it-all of all things. I assure you that there will come a day in your future that you will realize you were wrong when that fictitious God sends you to the bowels of hell because you were too intelligent to see the obvious signs he made available. Yep, the word reprobate describes you perfectly. Yeah, heaven wasn't made for everyone, and especially not self-ordained deities. So, is it wrong if you know stuff to correct somebody who has got it wrong? Or should the person who knows stuff keep their mouth shut? Let the false assumptions and beliefs just continue merrily along. You know, if you know for a fact that the founding fathers were deists and they were trying really hard to make this country not repeat the same mistakes as the countries they fled from in Europe, and somebody's prattering on about how this is a Christian nation and how it's always been a Christian nation and our founding fathers were Christians, and you know that isn't true, should you just not say anything for fear that, oh no, you might sound like a know-it-all? Or if somebody's like, oh, there's just tons of evidence for Jesus. There's writings, the Roman guards wrote stuff about him while he was in prison. And there were letters that Pilate wrote. And there's even a letter that Jesus wrote. I mean, if you hear stuff like that and you know it isn't true, you should just keep your mouth shut for fear that you might come across like a know-it-all. Or if people are going on about how Josephus is a contemporary witness for Jesus when he was born after Jesus supposedly died. Oh, and then the person that you say this to goes, oh, I think you have the dates wrong. No. But yeah, if you hear somebody saying stuff like, well, Josephus was a contemporary historian. No, he wasn't. He was born after Jesus's is there such a Jesus's after Jesus's alleged death. I don't think I come across like a know-it-all at all. Gosh, I'm just really, it's kind of like acrobatics with words. Know-it-all at all. I don't think I come across that way. There are so many people on YouTube who know more than I do. And I freely admit that I'm not a scholar, and that I don't know, I have a layman's understanding of evolution. I have a layman's understanding of paleontology. I have even probably less than a layman's understanding of cosmology. I know what I read when it comes to when I was struggling with my beliefs. See, I after 35 years of not questioning anything and just letting myself assume things and just assume that other people did the research and so I don't have to myself. After doing that for 35 years, my brain isn't really cut out for heavy duty, research. But if I did go back to school, if I if I became a scholar, if I became a learned professor in comparative religion, and I started writing books, people would say, oh, she doesn't know shit. I mean, no matter what you do, no matter how much you study, no matter what, what efforts you put into learning, people are going to stick their noses in the air and say, well, you don't know anything. So really it doesn't matter. And if when I was going through the trying to save my beliefs because they were crumbling around my ears, people, somebody implied recently that, oh, you're the mindless drone. No, I was a mindless drone. See, that's it. I was a mindless drone. But mindless drones do not pull their heads out of their asses and go, wait a minute, is what I believe really true? People don't quite grasp how incredibly humiliating and painful it is to let go of a belief that you've had, not only have had, but have pushed on other people for the majority of your adult life. It's hard to say, oh God, I guess I was wrong. It's hard to have the humility to say, oops, guess I was screwed up a little bit. And it's hard to let go of a crutch. Walking around feeling like, oh, well, somebody loves me. I might not have any friends. I might not have anybody in my family anymore. I might not have anybody at all on Christmas or Thanksgiving, but somebody loves me. Jesus loves me. Jesus cares. Jesus watches over me. When I do good things, somebody appreciates it. It's hard to let go of a crutch like that, especially if you're afraid of being alone. It's really hard, and it's really painful when you feel like, I can't wait. One day I'm going to see that person again in heaven. I'm going to see him again. They're not really dead right now. They're out of pain. They're out of pain. They're in paradise right now, and Jesus is enfolding them in his arms, having those little comforting thoughts. It's hard to realize that most likely that isn't all true. Christians call me a mindless drone. I went through the work of having to systematically, and I wasn't even trying to systematically destroy my faith and my beliefs. I was trying to save that. I was trying to keep it from collapsing. I was desperately trying to find evidence that a God exists, evidence that a God inspired the Bible, evidence that all these things that I had been taught and assumed were true my whole life, and I had made it a part of my identity. I was desperate to find evidence for this, for all these things. And that's what I was trying to do. I wasn't trying to, oh, look, my beliefs are false. I wasn't out to destroy Christianity or prove it wrong or prove myself wrong. I was trying to prove it was all true. I was trying to prove that I didn't just waste the majority of my life pushing something that wasn't even true. I was desperately trying to believe that the crutch that I thought gave me strength and the ability to persevere was actually based on something real and not just a phantom, a delusion. That's what I was trying to do. And it's really hard when you're desperate to believe something, to pick up a book that challenges those beliefs and open it and read it. When I was a Christian, I was so afraid to read anything that wasn't written by a Christian, that wasn't, oh, it's okay, it's all true. And here's why it's all true, Diane. This is affirmation that everything that you believe is absolutely 100% true. Yes, indeed. Learned people went out and they combed the planet and they came up with all this supporting evidence. I was so afraid to read any book that wasn't like that. not just read a book, but then go, ooh, where does this information come from? And look at, oh, it comes from this author and this author. Okay, I'm gonna read their work too. I'm gonna read what those authors have to say. I don't know how many books I read. I went through a phase where I was reading. I started with Dan Barker's book, Losing Faith in Faith. I'm trying to think of the books. The Dark Side of Christianity was another one. Things Your Church Doesn't Want You to Know was another one. Religion Poisons Everything. I think that's the title. I read a couple by Hitchens. But I'm not a scholar. And those books weren't easy to read either, for multiple reasons. They weren't fiction. I prefer fiction. I prefer reading a nice, happy story. So that kind of story is hard to read. Or the story, that kind of book is hard to read because it's knowledge, it's research, it's information. It's like, holy shit, really? Kind of stuff every single page. Oh, really? That's what some of these books were like. Akara M, that's another one that I read. I read can't think of the name of it, but it was very thick and very scholarly and very hard to read. But the point is, I read the stuff and it caused me to not be able to believe. But between that and the fact that it pointed out stuff in the Bible that I had not considered. And then I went back and reread the Bible with all this information and a whole different perspective and seen it in an objective way. Between reading the Bible objectively and reading all this information from these books, I came to not believe anymore. I don't say, hey, read this and this and this and this, and because these guys know everything. I say, go read books that aren't Christian books, that aren't found in Christian bookstores, that aren't written by Christian apologists. Go and read books that are about how this came to be. How did the Christian cult come to exist? A book with a title like that is not going to be written by a Christian, right? Maybe that's when you should read. Challenge your beliefs. And then when you learn stuff, when you learn enough information that you cannot believe anymore, that's it. You can't believe anymore. Between learning stuff that unraveled my ability to believe and reading the Bible, that's what caused me to become an atheist. And all I say to Christians is read stuff. Just read stuff, research stuff that isn't Christian authors and Christian apologists and people who are just going to blow wind up your ass, tell you what you want to hear, which is, gee, isn't that just what you've been doing your whole life? You're never going to learn the truth. You're never going to know if what you know is the truth until you challenge it. I challenged it. I challenged my beliefs. They did not stand up to scrutiny. They fell apart. They were unraveled. I'm sorry, but knowledge destroys that cult. Knowledge will destroy Christianity, hands down, every day, every time. And I don't know everything. I haven't read every book. I don't even know if some of the books that I read are wrong and some of the books are more right than others. I just know that the combined reading that I did unraveled my ability to believe. And I do think I know more now than I did before. And I do think that I'm not a mindless drone because I was brave enough to put myself through that. And it hurt. It hurt. You fall in love with your beliefs. You make your beliefs part of who you are. It's like having a part of your body ripped from you. It's painful. It's not even something you have to do. You can just continue to pretend that it's all true. It takes work to research. It takes work to put your beliefs to the test. And no, a mindless drone would not do that. So I am not a mindless drone. But being that I was a mindless drone for the majority of my life, I think I can tell one when I see it. I think I can say to somebody who was just like I was, You're a mindless drone. So anyway, I don't know it all. I know a little bit about animals, not a lot. I've had some fatalities in my home because I didn't know enough about animals. I don't know about a lot of stuff that I wish I knew. In my videos, I am very, I think, upfront about the fact that I don't know a lot of stuff. I can't even pronounce a lot of big words. I am everything but your snooty scholar type. But you know what? If I see something wrong, contrary to what I know is true, what I know is a fact, I'm going to say something. And I don't think that people who know stuff should have to keep their mouth shut just so people can walk around feeling like, oh, my beliefs are 100% true. And somebody really did the work to figure all that out. Somebody actually verified everything that I believe is true. You know, if people want to walk around in delusion, fine, but I think it's really rude to ask other people to not say anything when what they say is wrong. You know, if you say something wrong, somebody else is going to correct you. I have been corrected many times on my videos for saying things that are wrong. That's what happens when you say things that are wrong. And getting on the case of the person who is daring to say, oh, you know what, that's not true. And say, well, you're just know-it-all. No, they just happen to know something about maybe that you don't know. And they have a right to say, excuse me, no, but that's not true. Maybe you should research a little more. So anyway, this has turned into kind of a rant, but I think if anything, I'm the opposite of a Miss Know-It-All on YouTube. I don't act like I know it all, but I will say what I know. And if people say, well, that isn't true, then I'll say, well, hey, go research it. Don't just assume it isn't true. Go research it, which is what I did, because I didn't think it was true either once upon a time. I used to be just like the Christian. Oh, no, that isn't true. I was the same. I was that person. No, that's not true. It's really true that Jesus did this and this, and it's really true that there were witnesses everywhere, and da-da-da-da. I was that person. Yeah, and then I researched. So that's what I tell people who want to get in my face about, well, fine, then you do the research. And don't go running to your Christian bookstore, because they're just going to tell you what you want to hear. And that isn't research. And that isn't crawling out of the box of being a mindless drone. So anyway, if you've been watching, thanks. Bye.
I am absolutely convinced that the main source of hatred in the world is religion. And I think it should be religion treated with ridicule and hatred and contempt.